Okay, like it or not, I think we're going with this. Hello, and welcome to episode 50 of the SomerKnits podcast. It's been a little bit since I did a regular podcast, and feeling a little out of practice, but also like maybe we won't be able to get to everything that I've knit since my last podcast. I don't even have all of those things anymore because many were gifts. If you can hear my dog in the background, he is trying to figure out what I'm doing. A lot of times I film in the living room, and today I am in my bedroom and he is definitely concerned. Anyway, so I think we're just going to pick up from the beginning of January. My hope for this year is to film every 3 weeks to a month. I have tried previously to stick to an every 2 week schedule, and that just ends up not working out a lot of the time. So going forward in 2024, I'm going to aim for every 3 weeks to a month, but we'll see. Sometimes the bug just strikes and I feel chatty and I want to talk, and follow the joy, go with what's working. Anyway, there's a lot to get to, a few finished objects, a number of works in progress, and a few thoughts on going forward in 2024. If you are a new viewer, thank you so much for giving my little podcast a try. And if you're a returning viewer, thank you for being here with me again. My purpose in starting a podcast was to build community and to get to know other knitters all over the world. So please feel free to leave comments, send me messages on Instagram. All of those links are below in the show notes. And I just really enjoy engaging in conversation with people. So I also have a Discord server. If you are so inclined, that link will also be in the show description. And we would love to have you over there, where it's just kind of casual and chatty all the time. Without further ado, let's dive right into the finished objects. My first finished object of 2024 was finished on January 1st because it is my temperature blanket from 2023, and it is a monster. This king size blanket is knit using the excavation blanket pattern, so it's knit corner to corner. There is no weaving in of ends because all of the ends become the fringe on two sides of the blanket. I purposefully did this pattern because I knew that December gets busy with gift knitting, and fiber in my nose already. That's early in the podcast for that. There's gift knitting and then Advent things and all of the Christmas happenings. So one reason I chose this pattern is that I knew in December I would be on the shortest rows as I went back down to the point. So it's going to be impossible to fit into frame, but this is, and there's going to be like dog hair, maybe even leaves, because this blanket has been in use and the dog tracks in leaves, and then the kids snuggle under the blanket and drag it around on the floor, and it's just, it could be dirty. So apologies if it is, but this was the starting corner, and then I went, and you're seeing the wrong side, I'm seeing the right side, starting corner, and went through the year. You do change your right side and wrong side halfway through at the biggest part of the blanket. So if it would bother you to see the more marled garter side, then this would not be the right blanket to pick, but went all the way through, and then you flip it around, you reverse the right side and wrong side so that your fringe starts on the other side, and you begin decreasing. And so that got me all the way through the end of 2023. So I did that very last row and bound off on January 1st of 2024. And that is my successfully finished temperature blanket. I've talked to a number of people who say they've always wanted to do one and just haven't been able to keep up with it. I think the biggest thing for me for being able to keep up and finish it is that I knew the rows would get shorter. So even though I got behind starting sometime in the spring, I just kept doing, even if it was just one row a day, and I did not take it on vacation with us, so I knew I got even more behind. And then once I had decreased enough, I calculated out how many rows per day got me caught up by December 1st. And so in October, I did 2 rows per day because it was getting a lot smaller. And then in November, when it was really getting smaller, I did 3 rows per day. And that meant that by December 1st, I was completely caught up and I was only doing one really small row each day. And by row, I mean a garter ridge, a back and forth, because you go across and back with the color. So each day, that's what it is. So it's really 2 rows per color because it's a garter bump per day. And this blanket represents the high temperature of wherever I was on that day in 2023, not necessarily all of the high temperatures in Tulsa where I live, but wherever I was. So I can look through it and find our spring break ski trip, and I can look through it and find our national park trip over the summer. So there's it's basically a year in the life blanket as much as it is a temperature blanket, and I love it, and it's huge and snuggly. It is just made with acrylic yarn, just like big box store acrylic, and I just picked a color palette I liked. I knew that if I did a primary rainbow, it wouldn't really be what I wanted. I do love a good primary rainbow, but it wasn't, I'm finding all kinds of things on this blanket. It wasn't what I wanted to have in the living room. And this is mostly in the living room on the couch or on the rocking chair for snuggling with the kids. Sometimes for sitting under to knit in the mornings. But I will try to remember to put in some photos or B-roll because there's not very many places I can spread this whole thing out in my house. We've put a coffee table in, so the place I used to spread out giant things to try and take pictures of now has a coffee table in the middle. For a long time we didn't have a coffee table, and that I just used the big rug in our living room. But I really like it. It's the excavation blanket pattern. It's a free pattern, I believe. And I don't know. It was a fun project. It's something I had wanted to do for a long time, and I'm really glad that I finally just said, okay, and did it. Next up for finished objects, it is finished and blocked, but I have not trimmed the ends yet. This is the, I knew I was going to forget the pattern name as soon as I sat down. Let's try that again. The next finished object I had for 2024 is the Fable Dress. I have a cousin whose wife is having a baby girl, and I just knew I wanted to do a little purple dress. So I did the Fable Dress. It says it's the 0 to 3 month size. It feels very wide to me. I did not check my after blocking final finished gauge, but I figure either way, any way you look at it, the baby will grow into it eventually. It's just got these little, not quite ruffle, but just kind of, I don't know, flutter sleeves. And it is, it goes higher on the front than in the back, which is different, but cute. And it has a little belt that is seed stitch, and the hem is seed stitch. There's little seed stitch on the borders of the sleeves and again at the neckline, and I just need to trim the ends. This yarn, I don't know if you can see how beautiful this yarn is. It's such a lovely purple, but it's a kettle dyed style, and it is from a chick that knits, and I held the sock yarn double to make a DK weight, to make the right weight for the dress. And I just love how it came out. The I have said so much this episode already. the color just looks beautiful. I didn't have any problems with the skeins not matching up. I mean, I held them together and so they marled together, but they were perfect. And I probably would not have had to alternate them if I'd been holding them single. It just is so lovely. And it's so soft. I forget what base this was, but it's just in my hands working on it the whole time. It felt so good. So once again, that's A Chick That Knits yarn, and I can't remember the colorway name. I'll try and remember to put it in. But this is the Fable Dress. I would like to do another one, either of the Fable Dress or a similar dress for my other cousin whose baby girl will turn 1 in the spring. And so I got, when I ordered this, I also got a pink that I can use for the other dress. And then I got this purple. But my next finished object to show you came from the same order from A Chick That Knits. They were having such a good sale, and I know I'm trying to knit from stash, and I ordered before the start of the new year. So this doesn't count for 2024 stash. They closed their brick and mortar store and went back to being strictly online, and they're going to do more fiber events and festivals and things. So really good deals on their yarn. And I got this gorgeous green tweed in a DK weight, and I made the DK Flax Sweater for the older brother of the baby that is due in March. And so this will be his birthday present coming up really soon. So I just finished this, blocked it, trimmed all the ends, which I still need to do for the dress. But a flax sweater is always an enjoyable, quick knit. Tin Can Knits does such a good job with their patterns. And I love the size ranges. I did the 2 to 4 year old size, and I'm hoping, because he's turning 2, that it fits him through a few winters, hopefully. It came out a hair bigger, I think, than the finished measurements, or right on. It was really, really close. So the gauge was pretty good. I just think it's a great unisex, cute sweater that, you know, the brother can wear. And then when the sister gets bigger and grows into it, this green and the tweed look, I mean, it'll be great for either gender. I don't really think colors have genders, but the pattern itself, I think, is just such a great unisex design, and I've had a lot of success with it. If you've been watching the podcast for a while, you may remember that a few years back, I knit my son a flax in worsted. I forget if it was the DK or the worsted. But I just knit it in Lion Brand Mandala, and because he wanted a sweater he could wear to school that I wasn't going to worry about and be precious about and stuff, although I've tried really hard to not be too precious about the hand knits and to just let him wear them as he sees fit. But he really wanted a sweater he could run around in, play on the playground in, wear to school anytime he wanted. No big deal, not going to worry about it. And so I made it out of the Lion Brand Mandala, which is 100% acrylic, and it was on sale. So there's about $5 worth of yarn in that sweater. And so most of what's in the sweater, the bulk of it, is just my time. And that's fine, because I'm happy to give my time to my kids. But he is still squeezing himself into that sweater. And he's in the 3rd grade now, and I think I knit it for him in kindergarten or 1st grade. So it's definitely too small. So I think it's time to knit him another flax and see if I can get him to pass on that one that he's outgrowing to one of my cousin's kids. Because it really has held up. I throw it in the washing machine. I do hang it up to dry. I know I could put it in the dryer, but I do hang it up to dry just because I figure, I don't know, I hang a lot of things up to dry just because I feel like it's less wear and tear on the clothes themselves. So I guess, good reviews for knitting kids' clothes in fairly basic, inexpensive yarn and just letting them have at it. I like that he has an appreciation for hand knits and think it's fun that he gravitates towards that sweater all the time, even though it's definitely getting too small. All right, my next... No, I don't have any more finished objects here with me. I did make a hat for one of my daughter's friends, and I will try to remember to insert a photo. For her birthday, she likes bright colors and especially likes blue and orange, so I dug through my stash, found some scraps, no labels on them, and just whipped up a quick hat with a really wide ribbed brim and a stockinette top, and easy peasy. She loves it. I made it intentionally a little bit slouchy at the top, so the crown of the head has a bit of slouch to it, but it's nice and cozy over the ears. And then the other finished object that I no longer have, I made a blanket buddy, which is from the book, I think it's from the book 101 Designer One Skein Wonders. There's so many of those One Skein Wonder books that I forget. But it's basically what looks like your traditional granny's favorite dishcloth, except it has little arms and then a head and little ears, and it's made into a bunny. And it was for a baby shower for a coworker, and they loved it. I just found some brown cotton yarns that I had in my stash, and I marled them together, a dark brown with a brown, tan, and white, so that it came out heavier on the dark brown. I did not embroider a face on it or anything. I just made the blanket buddy, stuffed the head, sewed it closed, and called it good. And since it's cotton yarns, it's totally washable. I used a basic fiber fill in the head, and I did take a couple pictures, although it was very hard to photograph because the brown yarn was so dark. So I'll try to remember to pop those in so that you can see. Next up is works in progress. So I've been knitting a lot. We had some nasty winter weather and we were stuck in the house a couple of weekends in a row for the most part. I guess not completely stuck, but I didn't really want to go out because it was freezing, like well below freezing, in the negative temperatures here. So I just knit my little heart out. I have one thing I can't show because it is still a secret test knit, but hopefully soonish we shall see. But I started for myself a cardigan. I know I keep talking about wanting to do more cardigans, and then I keep putting them off for other things. So you might remember me talking about the Amapola cardigan. It was on my Make 9 last year, I believe. So last Christmas, 2022, I got a whole bunch of Knit Picks Wonder Fluff in this colorway, which is Ripple Heather. And Knit Picks Wonder Fluff, if you're not familiar with it, is 70% baby alpaca, 23% nylon, and 7% merino wool. It's considered a bulky weight yarn, like a 5 on the 1 to 6 scale. And it's so soft. Yes, it sheds a lot, but it is so soft, it's worth it. So I cast that on, and you knit it from the bottom up. And you even do the ribbing on the bigger needles, which I thought was interesting. Sorry. So you do the ribbing on the bigger needles even, and then you work the whole thing flat until you divide for sleeves. Then it has you do one front panel, then the second front panel. Sorry, I'm all over the place. Then the back panel, and there is shaping in the various panels for the shoulders. There is short row shaping in the shoulders. There's also V-neck shaping on the front. I realize that I'm moving around a ton and you probably can't see anything I'm talking about. There is some V-neck shaping on the front. So when it's done, it will have a V-neck here, and there are short rows shaping the shoulder caps to hopefully help keep it on your shoulders better. They give you options in the pattern on how to join the top of the shoulders. So there's a mattress stitch option, a 3-needle bind off option, and a Kitchener stitch option. So there's options in the pattern, and it tells you how to proceed for each one of those. And I did the 3-needle bind off just because I find that easy, and it has, you want integrity up in those shoulder stitches, and I just feel like the 3-needle bind off has pretty good integrity as far as making a seam. And I was careful to not bind it off too loose because you don't want those shoulder seams to stretch out. I didn't pull it tight either, but I just didn't want it to have too much give. So I went with the 3-needle bind off, and then I finished one sleeve. The sleeves are knit with no decreases. You can kind of see where I started out on Magic Loop, because I put off the sleeves on this for a little while because I have lost my shorty 10.5 needle tips. They're somewhere in my house, and I know they are somewhere in my house because I used them to do the sleeves on this sweater, which was the last thing I finished in 2023. I guess I didn't talk about this when I started. We can hit the what I'm wearing in a minute, but I had just used the size 10.5 needles to complete this Lento because that's what I used on the sleeves. And they are nowhere to be found. I have no idea where they are. So I had put off doing the sleeves because I started doing Magic Loop and I was getting terrible laddering, but I didn't want to pull hard on this yarn to try to close the laddering, and hopefully it will block out. You knit the whole sleeve with no decreases though, and you do rapid decreases right before the cuff, and then the cuff is done on the smaller needle size. I think the cuff is done on a 9 and the body and sleeves are knit on a 10.5. Anyway, in order to do the sleeves, I ran by my local yarn store, Get Stitchin', and grabbed a pair of 10.5 fixed circular needles from the Licka Blush collection because I love the Licka needles, and I had knit the body of the sweater on wooden needle tips, so I didn't want to be, because my gauge is affected by my needle type, so I didn't want to be going totally a different route, so I got the Driftwood Blush Licka needles just in a fixed circular, and that has allowed me to proceed with the sleeves at a pretty good pace. This sleeve has only a few rows. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this has 4 rows left to go before I begin the decreases to do the cuff. I do, however, think the button band is going to take me a little bit. I have read the instructions, and it's the kind of button band where it's a vertical rib, and you pick up and knit it as you go. So instead of picking up the whole way round, you're only picking up one stitch at a time. And I just feel like I'm going to second guess myself and stuff, and that it's going to take me a minute. But, oh, the fluff. But I'm hoping to have this as a finished object definitely by the end of February. I do know I have other stuff going on as well, but the sooner the better, because I would love to be able to wear it. I adore this color. It's so soft. It's going to be so nice. So I don't know what else I can say about this. It's the Amapola Cardigan. It's by Claudia, I think, from Knit Toronto. The pattern is available on their website or on Ravelry, and I think on Ravelry, definitely on the Uniknit Toronto website. I don't know, I'm loving it. It's been such an easy, mindless hang around and knit kind of thing. And so I'm super happy I'm finally doing it because I've wanted to make it since it came out. And if you've been here, I don't know, since the fall, I swatched for it, did not get gauge with the same yarn, ordered a mohair to go with it, but they didn't have a matching mohair in stock at Knit Picks. So I ordered white, thinking there's a lot of white in the yarn, I might like that. And then it just looked too much like I was holding thread with it. You could see that single strand of white. Oh my gosh. It wouldn't be a podcast if we weren't eating the fiber, would it? Anyway, I just didn't like the look. I find that I really don't like it when the mohair is lighter than the solid color yarn you're holding behind it. I find I like when you have a light colored yarn in the background and a variegated or darker mohair creating the halo above it, but the reverse so far. Every time I've tried it thinking I might like it, I end up not liking the result. So just note to myself, don't do that anymore. I do have a use for all that white mohair though. I wanted to knit myself a Christmas Lento, which I didn't get around to this year, but I have 2 skeins of Southern Skeins Christmas sock yarn that is variegated and speckled, and I think that I could handle that with the white mohair because there is a lot of white space on that yarn and it would tone down some of the crazy, but it would still definitely be a Christmas Lento. So we'll see. We'll come back to that next fall. But moving right along into works in progress. Oh, I'm caught on things. Okay. So I have started swatching. I have my hand spun from my son's purple spin. If you've been here a while, I have 4 skeins of it. It came out to, oh, I wrote it down somewhere, 360 something grams. I still have more that I could ply together, but I'd have to spin up more of the medium purple first. I've got plenty of the light purple and the shiny darker purple already spun and sitting on bobbins, but I'd have to spin up the rest of the medium shade of purple in order to ply more. But I wanted to go ahead and start swatching so that I could get his vest. He wants a sweater vest in the works. So I've started swatching on size 8 needles because it definitely came out between a worsted and an Aran weight yarn. It's a 3-ply combo spin, obviously. I'm liking the fabric on the 8s. However, a lot of the patterns I'm finding are for 5s and 7s. So I may switch needle tips and try doing the other half of the swatch on a 7, and then I'm definitely going to wet block it, see how the finished fabric feels, and decide what size to cast on. I will either recalculate the cast on based on the size 8 needle gauge if I like that fabric better, or if I can get gauge with the 7s, then I'll cast on the appropriate size for him. Just doing a basic V-neck sweater vest with ribbing for all the edges. I started out thinking I might do a textured sweater vest, but the yarn is just too busy for that. I just can't see. I started out at the bottom just doing a simple knit pearl texture I found on a vest, and I found that I didn't like it. The yarn's just too busy, but it's the yarn he loves. It's the yarn he wants. So I'm hoping that I can get that done and that he will wear it for Easter this year and continue to wear it whenever. So that is the spin he asked for. It is definitely, the yarn itself is basically a finished object, but the garment is still a work in progress. So I'm not sure really how to file that, because he's wanted a sweater vest since he picked out the art bat that is the shiny strand. He wanted a vest with it. So we've known that was what it was going to be this whole time. Now it's just time to make it happen. My next work in progress is a test knit for Laura Penrose. And I just remembered as I opened the bag that I think I stopped in the middle of a row, because I was at school drop-off with my son and I was just sitting in the car getting some rows in while we waited our turn in line. And that makes me a very bad podcaster. So I will talk and try to get to the end of the row, although it's a lot of stitches. Laura is the only person I'm testing for right now, these days, or in 2024. Going forward, the only test knits I'm applying for, because I am trying to conquer all of the other knitting plans that I have. I have so much in my stash that unless I can absolutely 100% pull from stash, I am trying not to take on test knits. I do not want to have to order or buy yarn for other designers' test knits at this point. But I tend to love Laura's work and enjoy her test knits so much that I can't stop myself. So when she was knitting up her big shawl over Christmas during Vlogmas, during the Advent season, I had been thinking about how much I really wanted to get back to my Geo Gradient shawl, or cast on a big squishy shawl that would be a little more mindless. Ultimately, I have a goal of spinning for one of the Andrea Mowry color shifting shawls. One of them being either the Traveler or Night Shift is a good one. Although if I did Night Shift, I would want to go bigger than the pattern says, because I'm really looking for good size shawl. The other one I was tempted by, it was one of her new ones in the last year, that had just a simple knit purl texture. Night Shift would come out denser because it's the mosaic knitting, but I'm sure it would be gorgeous. The Traveler is beautiful garter design, garter ridge design, and the other one is a simple knit purl texture, and all of them have that kind of color shifting, are designed with some kind of spin cycle or similar look to them, which you can totally mimic with hand spun, because that's what spin cycle is supposed to mimic. So that's my goal. My ultimate goal is to spin just yarns I love and then find ones that go well together. So what I need to decide is, am I going to spin up a whole bunch of 2-ply or a whole bunch of 3-ply? I am not the finest gauge spinner in the world at this point. So if I do 3-ply, it tends to come out closer to worsted weight, which is fine. Shawls aren't that gauge dependent if you're willing to go for a nice big squishy nonsense, which is what I want. I want the drape around your shoulders kind of schlanket type shawl. I'm not necessarily going to wear it like a cowl too much, but anyway, I digress. Over Advent season, Laura knit up a giant shawl that was gorgeous, and then her daughter stole it, and then she decided to knit up a cute little shawl for her daughter in order to get back her shawl, and in doing so inspired herself to knit herself another shawl, which is already in testing. It is called the Pimpom Shawl, and it has squishy garter in the middle, and then a a little line of cute baubles, just a single row of decorative baubles, and then a little bit more garter and some scallops. And I love a good scallop. The shawl is just big enough to be drape around the shoulders cozy, which is really what I'm thinking I would use it for the most, whether it's keeping it on the back of my office chair or here at home. I have not decided. The scallops make it just a little bit girly and decorative, but the squishy garter is still going to be cozy and warm. But the other big appeal was that I could stash dive for the shawl. So I went up and made a bunch of different pairings. I mean, I spent like a whole day deciding what to do, because you need like 200 the border, and none of that is final, so don't quote me on any of that. I might not be supposed to be telling you how much yarn you need. Anyway, it was totally worth stash diving for. The shawl is designed for DK weight yarn or fingering held double. Originally, I was going to go for fingering held double, but when I was up in my stash looking through things, I found this gorgeous blue and purple Southern Skeins that I'd been hoarding, trying to decide what to do with. I wanted to use it in something I could wear, because I just adore the color, but it was only 2 skeins and I just couldn't decide. So it's just been sitting for a bit, and I pulled it out, and then I don't have it down here with me, but I pulled out 2 different options for the bauble. One is like a bright aqua with pink and purple speckles in it, and the other is a dark purple with hot pink and blue and a few other kinds of speckles in it. And I'm at the moment leaning towards the dark purple for my baubles. Feel free to let me know what you think, but that is what I'm currently leaning towards. Finally at the end of the row. Okay. So the shawl is knit center out, and this is what I have so far. I know I'm making great faces right now. Anyway, so it's got this center spine stitch and a beautiful I-cord edge. And I have just really been enjoying taking this places with me, because it is definitely at a point where it's easy to knit and chat, knit and watch things. I took it to a hockey game. I've been taking it to my kids' activities when I just have to sit for an hour. It is at the perfect point of portability. So I have not been working on it at home because it's such a perfect portable project right now. I am almost to the end of my first ball of yarn. It's in a plastic bag because I'd been taking it everywhere. I have my second ball ready to go. And then my scallop border, oh, my yarns are caught. After I do, I think, the dark purple with hot pink specks in it for the baubles, my scallop border is going to be in the leftovers from the dress I made for my cousin's baby. So you can see how well it goes with that darker purple in between them, making the baubles. I just think it's going to be gorgeous. I'm really looking forward to it. It's colors that excite me, and it's a pattern that excites me because first, I need something easy to carry around. I'm on the go with my kids a lot, and having something that not only results in a garment that I want, and I'm considering this shawl a garment because it's going to be used to keep me warm, that results in something that I wanted to begin with, but also is easy enough to just carry around in my everyday life. I don't know a better way to say that, but a big squishy shawl had been on my list, and so I was like, yes, absolutely, that I want to do that. So I was very excited when Laura put out the test call for the Pimpom Shawl, and I believe it's due at the end of February. Plenty of time. So unless we get closer to the deadline, I'm going to keep it as my carry around project for now. And at home, I'm going to work on the Amapola cardigan or get started on my son's sweater vest. Or I've been trying to do more spinning because I had finished my son's spin for the most part, and my daughter's been asking me over and over again about her spin. Let me see if I can grab the bobbin real quick. I'm gonna make a mess of things. I had tied off the yarn so that I didn't have to pull it back through the orifice, and now it has gotten tangled, which is super. Clearly, I am the most professional spinner ever. Not at all. So, this is my daughter's spin from the art bat that she picked out this summer at Fiber Christmas in July. I hope that it is focusing on that because it's gorgeous. I'll set it down on the spinning wheel. There is only a tiny bit of that fiber left to spin up. I should be able to finish it this evening, I would think. It was such a gorgeous bat. It is Butterfly Girl Designs, and the colorway is called Elsa. It's 60% merino, 30% bamboo, 10% nylon, Firestar, and Angelina. So it was a 4-ounce bat. And so I'm going to finish spinning the rest of this bat. And then I had a second bat in stash from my friend Dawn of Dawning Dreams. That is merino, bamboo, and Angelina also. In a slightly different colorway, there's a little bit more light blue and a little bit darker of an aqua or teal in there. And I'm going to spin this as the second strand. There's quite a bit more white and cream in this one than in the Elsa colorway. But this is going to be the second strand, and so then they will be plied together for hopefully a good sport weight 2-ply. That is what I'm aiming for, is a sport weight. And if we can get enough yardage, it's going to be just a tiny little cropped bolero short sleeve shrug, basically. Just a little tiny shrug for my daughter. So hopefully between the two 4-ounce bats, I can get a decent yardage of sport weight. I think it's going to be really pretty spun together or plied together. So I'm really looking forward to that. I think I am currently most motivated by seeing what colors do together as far as spinning goes. Either combo spins or fractal spins, just seeing how colors end up coming together as I work with them. I struggle with getting bored with single color spins. So I don't know if that's normal, but that's me. So right now I'm really into, I'm trying to find something I want to show you. I'm going to apologize for the crinkling because I have not taken it out of the bag. So speaking of how color ends up working up, I'm really excited to spin this next. Is it even a braid? I haven't taken it out of the bag. Let's take it out of the bag. But first I'm going to show you real quick. My husband apparently signed me up for the Pancake and Lulu Fiber Club, monthly Fiber Club. I have no idea for how many months because he was not very communicative about this. He just handed it to me one day. So this is the January club. I think they usually do 3 months, 6 month, and 1 year signups. I don't know. But it says welcome to the club on the sticker. So I would think this is my first month of how many? I have no idea. It came with a tee, a turmeric glow tee, but the name of this colorway is Magic Forest. Okay, this is an extra fine American Merino wool roving. 100% American Merino wool. 19.5 micron. Staple length of 3 to 4 inches. So, so it looks like all the purple is on one end, and it goes through a brighter green into a more muted, and there's blue speckles throughout, blue turquoise something, throughout the whole thing. So I need to decide how I want to spin this up. And I am absolutely open to suggestion. Do I want to divide it vertically 2 or 3 times? You know, if I'm going to spin for a big squishy shawl, I definitely get a more consistent yarn because I am a chaos crafter and not the world's best spinner when I do a 3-ply, but then I just have to go in knowing that I need to pick a shawl that is worsted to Aran weight, or do I want to do a 2-ply where my default yarn usually ends up closer to a DK weight. I just have not gotten to where I spin the world's finest, and I cannot spin a multiple ply fingering weight yet at this point. And that's probably due to a complete lack of patience on my part. I spin on an Ashford Traveler, which is a castle style wheel that I love. I love the way it feels. I like how easy it is to carry it around, and I love that the Lazy Kate is built right into it. However, I could probably use to like more detailed spinning lessons or to watch some more detailed YouTube videos. The drafting method I learned when somebody first taught me to spin was just a short forward, so that's really the only thing I'm comfortable with. I haven't really spent too much time trying other ones because in my chaos crafting, I am often impatient, and so I do have some like fairly decent cream color wool that I could just practice spin with and maybe try all different things, but I just haven't been patient enough. I also only have 6 bobbins, I think, so a lot of times they're occupied with things that I am already working on. So that's where I stand right now with the spinning, trying to decide 2-ply or 3-ply. Do I want to spin this end to end or divide it vertically 2 or 3 times? I'm feeling like I'd like to mix the color all together, so I'm feeling like I should divide it. I could even divide it 4 times. I don't know. I'm very excited to spin it though, and excited to see if there's more coming. I didn't want to ask too many questions. You know, they say don't look a gift horse in the mouth, so I didn't want to be like, so how many months is this? Because that seems a little grabby, but I guess it's a mystery. I have one more work in progress that I would really like to get back to that I have not worked on a ton recently, and that is another blanket. It is my Sweet Shop blanket, which is also a design by Laura Penrose. It is currently at this state. So one side is currently 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares across, and then most of it is 3 squares. I believe this is the square I just finished. So I think ultimately I wanted to get it to 4 squares across by 6 squares high, because the goal is to keep it on the back of this knitting chair and be able to just put it on my lap or wrap up in it when I'm watching TV at night with my husband, or when I'm knitting or even spinning, just have it on my lap. I love this design, and I actually really love working on it. The only reason I had stopped was towards the end of the year. I had taken on too many test knits and was doing the Daft Days cardigan, which was by Rebecca Clow, and I was also doing the Weekday Dress by Amy Scher, and in between there I took on the Stella quilt cushion, and it was too many. And so then I started having wrist pain and everything else, and it just got to be a lot. So I had not worked on this in a while, but I feel like I really want to pick it back up. I love the colors. These are the colors in my bedroom. Mostly the blues and whites with little bits of purples and pinks and other accents, but mostly the blues and whites in the room. So I'm excited to keep working on this. I got it back out to where I can see it every day, and I know that that will motivate me to get more done on it. But I really want to finish the Amapola cardigan first, and of course stay on top of timing for the Pimpom Shawl. But I like having a blanket project I can just go to. And I love that this one is joined as you go, and that you just grab another color, start your square, grab the white, do the decrease side. I don't know, this one's just really fun to work on and to see it grow. So if you're wanting a blanket project and you haven't started one yet, the Sweet Shop blanket by Laura Penrose is definitely one you should look at. Now, hers is written for DK weight and done in DK weight. I've used the same numbers, but done it in worsted to Aran weight, because I'm using all scraps, and it's mostly scrap acrylic because it's a blanket and I can throw it in the wash. And now I have leftovers from my temperature blanket, and I will only be using the blues and aquas in the lighter colors. I'm not going to throw all those colors in here, but I have those that I can use. And so just very excited to see this blanket continue on and finally become a finished object sometime this year. So my goal is to finish that by the spring. And if I haven't, I haven't, but hopeful, because it is one of those knits that brings me joy. And so I do want to have it to use. And then back to what I skipped at the beginning. So totally skipped the fact that this is a Lento. If you've been here even a little while, this is the Lento that I made holding one strand of Darn Good Yarn merino singles in just the natural colorway, with 2 gifted from a swap hand-dyed merino or hand-dyed mohair, silk mohairs, and I alternated them to get this wild and crazy mix. They both had purple and they both had aqua in them. One had some more dark purples in it, and the other had the bits of red. And so I just single row striped them basically to get this wild and crazy Lento. It is so soft, so lightweight. I love it. I did the length of sleeves in the pattern. I think that I would enjoy if they were slightly longer and then decrease a little bit for the cuff and do a bit more of a puffy sleeve. But I love it. The length is great. It feels great. I couldn't be happier with it. And then I really would like to finish my other Lento. It's not currently an active whip because I have not worked on it since I bound off the bottom, which I think was sometime in December when I was going through trying to just finish things. So I have the whole body, but because I couldn't find those needle tips, the sleeves have not even been started. So I can say that when I finish my Amapola cardigan and those needle tips are free, the next thing I will use them for is to start sleeves on the Lento. And I have plenty of this yarn. I can weigh it before I start the sleeves, but there's tons of it left. And so I think I may go for a more full length sleeve. So I would spread out the decrease rate, or even decrease fewer times and let it be a bigger sleeve and then come in a bit rapidly right before the cuff, I think. But this one is a merino single, wishbone merino singles, in this crazy colorway, held with Holst Titicaca, which is an alpaca. And so it's made for this. I keep doing crazy lentos. I have not done anything that one might consider a normal lento yet, but it took that not quite my colorway merino single, and the pink Titicaca brought out the pinks in it, but also complemented the blues, and I just love the fabric. And it feels so good. It definitely weighs more than this one. This is so light you almost can't feel it. This definitely weighs more, but might ultimately be a bit cooler because of no mohair. I don't know. It could be just as warm because of the alpaca, but when I pick this sweater up and I hold it in my hands, like against my skin, and I pick this sweater up and I hold it against my skin, this feels cooler to the touch, cooler in my hands than this does, like when I just touch the fabric, pick it up, and I'm holding it. So I think this is going to be a really good transitional season piece, as is this one. I love the Lento pattern. It's so simple and so pretty. I could see myself making more of those, and I'm not always a pattern repeater. So let's talk about 2024 knitting intentions real quick. I'm not going to keep you too long, but this year I decided not to do a make 9 because I have yet to complete a make 9 grid, which, you know, isn't really the purpose of knitting. But last year, I believe I only completed 2 projects in my make 9. And even though every single one of those projects is still in my queue, still something I want to make, I decided not to put that kind of limitation or pressure on myself, because ultimately I would just look at it and be disappointed that I didn't do more of it. So the main focus of 2024 is going to be using my stash, which I've been saying for a while. So more out than in is going to be the principle I want to follow. I'm not going to say that I will never buy yarn, but I would like there to be more going out every month as far as getting used than coming in as just skeins of yarn. I've decided to start weighing my finished objects and tracking grams of yarn, but I am also still tracking balls of yarn because I can't decide what the better way to keep track of it is. Because obviously things like this, where I'm only on the 5th ball and each ball is only 50 grams, but it's a bulky weight yarn and it's super fluffy, is it any better or worse to knit up 5 balls of that than it is to knit up 2.5 100-gram skeins of sock yarn? Like, I don't know. So I don't know if tracking balls or grams is better, or yards. So I am weighing my finished objects, figuring out the yardage, but also still tracking it by the ball, just to see, just for my own edification, just because I want to know. So like last year, I'm tracking that in my paper planner. I forgot to weigh the gifted hat and the blanket buddy, so I am going to estimate based on the yarn I have left for those. But I did weigh the baby dress and the flax. The dress weighed 136 grams. The flax was closer to 170 something. I've written them all down. So I will work out that yardage. That does leave me with 1 full skein of the green tweed, and I'm thinking that it would be a really beautiful hat and that it would look good potentially on my dad. I could see it being his color, or I could see doing it for my sister because she's a huge Notre Dame fan and it's a bright green. So one of those probably. But if I can get a decent gauge with it, I'm going to do the Leith hat, which is by Sol de Tigre. And yeah, that's my plan for that one. But it is nice that I have knit up a lot of what I brought in right at the end of the year. I've definitely had more out than in January, which is excellent, and I want to keep doing that. And so one reason I'm not applying for as many test knits and want to emphasize the yarn I already have and only apply for things I can use the yarn I have for is because I have all of these ideas for the yarn I have, and so many plans, and I keep putting those plans off for other things as they come up. And sometimes I end up loving those other things, and sometimes I'm kind of wishing I'd taken the time to follow the plans I had and really give the yarn that I have the love it deserves, because I bought it for a reason and I really want to use it. And I know I've said that before. I feel like I sound like a broken record. But it is my intention to just love on my yarn stash this year, to knit the good stuff, and work on my hoarding tendencies. And yeah, so those are my intentions. I still intend to knit a sweater for my husband. I really want to. I was considering gauge swatching today when I finish filming, since he is not at home, and then I could block both that gauge swatch and the one for my son's sweater vest. If I'm going to make him a sweater and keep it a secret, it is going to take a while. So that is definitely something to keep in mind. But it is between starting with the stick season or the Matthew pullover, and I can't decide which direction to go. The stick season would be a Forest Lane Fiber Company yarn, and the Matthew pullover would be a Newton and mohair. And so I'm trying to decide, is the stick season a better option because of where we are in the year? Because it is going to get too warm for the Newton. Originally, I had thought if I could get the Matthew going and have it done before we went skiing over spring break, that it would be perfect for going skiing, like taking on our trip, because it's cold there. But would the stick season be more useful in our climate for now, and then work on the Newton one to give him next year so that he has it for more of cold season? I don't know. I'm completely torn on that, but it is something that I really want to do, and I've been talking about it for a while, and I just really want to do it. So those are some of my 2024 intentions. I've talked about my spinning intentions, what I want to do as far as spinning for a shawl. And as part of that, I had canceled all my yarn subscriptions, but I've been enjoying spinning so much that I did sign up for the Porter Wool Company monthly, what do they call it, club membership. And I forget what fiber content I ended up deciding on, but my kids are in their Taylor Swift era, and even though I'm not really a Swiftie, they are. And so I signed up for the Taylor Swift Fiber Club just because I figure I'll get some really fun colorways that way, and I'll spin up either to use in my own shawl or to make some accessories for the kids, and we'll see what happens with that. And who knows, I may end up with a huge fiber stash. Let's hope not. Let's hope that I really keep with the spinning and I don't hoard too much. I really do, for the sake of trying to get a handle on my craft room, need to do more out than in on everything across the board. Anyway, I'd love to hear what you're working on. I feel like this has gotten kind of long, so I'm going to skip books and things like that for now. Life's been a little hectic. You know, we had a couple of cold spells here that snow and ice prevented the kids from going to school and stuff, and it was a little trying. Once again, had the hot water pipe in the kitchen freeze, which was just delightful. You know, it's just been a January. But I am looking forward to the start of February and lots of upcoming fun things happening. Family-wise, we've just got a lot going on. We've just got, I think, something every weekend, but I'm trying to just be present for those things, for all of the kid activities and the stuff, and really just enjoy this time of life where they want me around and they want to do all these things. I know it doesn't last very long, so I just want to soak it all in and take my knitting along with me. Anyway, I will talk to you guys again soon. Please give the video a like and subscribe if you could. It really does help increase the channel reach, which just increases our wonderful community. I have made so many good friends through this that I just want to thank each and every one of you for taking the time to be here. I would love if you let me know what you're working on, or what you want to be working on, or how you're feeling about your 2024 knitting intentions. I know that a lot of podcasts are way past that now because it is the end of January, but I would just love to hear from you. So drop me a comment below, send me a message on Instagram, however you want to do it, or join our Discord server. And then I will see you again next time.